Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So joining me today, my great new friend, Charmaine Broughton. Hello, Charmaine.
Hello, I am delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to see you again. So we met a few years ago.
We did.
Yes, you were actually a guest on Peter Jennings' show, Be My Guest.
Yes.
And you cooked up some fantastic stuff. And I have to say that one of the nicest things that anyone's ever said to me, because cooking is not my forte,
right?
You know, but you just said, and you were that soccer mom that brought all the great snacks, all the great homemade stuff, and they probably all said, "Ooh, here comes Charmaine, she's going to have great snacks," and mine would be store-bought. But you said to me, we can't be good at everything.
That's it.
And I really, you know, that stuck with me because that was a few years ago, and I so appreciate that. And it's still not my forte. But you have done some tremendous things in the kitchen and in your personal life, and you have a wonderful story. We're going to talk about the priority promise. But I would love to go back and just tell me what life was like for you growing up and what sort of put you on this path today.
Yeah, and what led me to this seat right here. So I had struggled with my weight most of my life. I went on my first diet at the age of 10.
10.
I know.
Yeah.
It's that reason why I'm so happy that I don't have boys. But boys have their own insecurities and so on as well.
Yes.
But so when my first diet at the age of 10, when I was 12 years old, my cousin had asked me to be in her wedding, and I was so excited to be a bridesmaid. And I remember that was a time that I was really starting to gain weight quite quick. You know, I was grade 6, so the body's starting to change, so you know, natural things, and my eating habits weren't fabulous.
Right.
And I remember one of the last fittings for leading up to the wedding, I was in the change room, and my mom was trying to do up the dress, and my aunt was in the room as well, so the mother of the bride.
Yes. And
the back of the dress was tight, because and the zipper
just kind of making it
right.
Yeah.
And so I did, ta-da, how do I look? And then I changed, and when I was getting back into like my jeans, I remember overhearing my aunt say to my mom, "Make sure Charmaine doesn't gain any more weight before the wedding." And that just crushed me. And I mean, that was well over 30 years ago now.
Years and years.
So I had always struggled with my weight, and then finally, after I, you know, skip ahead a few years, quite a few years, after the birth of my second son, I weighed well over 200 pounds, and I just knew I had to make myself my #1 priority. And what led me to that decision was after the birth of my first son, I was at a function, and I bumped into a chiropractor friend of mine, and I got talking to him, and I always knew that he was a runner, and I'd always admired him. I had known him for years and years, and I just asked him about his fitness, and you know, I said, I'd love to become fit, but I don't have time. I said, I have a newborn, well, Tyler was about 7 months at the time, and you know, I'm back at work part-time, and I'm still nursing, and I was giving him all these excuses.
Sure.
Well, he looked at me and he said, you know, Charmaine, you need to make your health your #1 priority. And he had nothing to do with my excuses. Like, he was not putting up with them at all.
So anyways, back to being your #1 priority.
Yeah, he said, you need to make yourself your #1 priority. He said, you know, I have my secretary schedule my runs into my day just as she schedules in my patients. And then he said something that hit home, and he said to me, you know, there's a woman who runs the New York City Marathon every single year, and she has a devastating disease. And he said it takes her 9 hours, but she does it.
Yes.
And those are the words that really just hit home for me. And I thought, you know, all in all, other than being overweight, I'm fairly healthy. Like, I'm not, you know, I was 26 years old at the time. And so I kept that in the back of my mind. Well, wouldn't you know, a couple of weeks later, I found out I was pregnant with Colgan, my second son. So it was after I had him that I was like, this is it. I have every excuse. I have a toddler. I have a newborn. I'm nursing. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to make me my absolute #1 priority. And I did. So I set a goal to run a full marathon. And
from being
nothing
in shape to full
from
marathon.
being like almost 220 pounds. And that was my goal. And
that's impressive.
And I know people do say it's impressive, and I suppose it was impressive.
Yes.
However, that was my goal.
Yeah.
And you know, what I encourage people is find what works for them.
Absolutely.
When I tell my story, often people are like, "Oh, I have to run a marathon." No, you don't have to run a marathon. Whatever putting your health and making yourself #1 works for you. It could be waking up half an hour early and meditating. It could be stop drinking pop and drink more lemon water.
Just do something.
Right.
In that direction.
You got it.
Yes.
Amen. So that was my goal. I was going to run a marathon. And I gave myself 18 months. So I had Colgan in January. And in the following May, I ran the Ottawa Marathon.
You did it.
I did it. 26.2 miles, and it was glorious. It was I have shivers. That that was 16, almost 16 years ago, or 15 years ago. Look at the hair on my arms.
You're standing right up. I see it.
And it was and it took me a long time. And leading up to that race, I remember I did a half marathon because I trained. And the half marathon I did was the Toronto Scotiabank, the half marathon. And I remember I was one of so Colgan was 9 months at the time. And I was one of the last people to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
But I didn't care.
Oh he was 9 months old.
Yeah, and I remember running at the end because my breasts were filled with milk, and I was holding them at the end.
Breastfeed.
And the other kicker. So here I am crossing the finish line, and because it took me so long, because I was the full marathoners were actually passing me.
Yeah.
But honest to goodness,
are you kidding me? Who cares?
It was And I remember telling people the story, and they were like, "You didn't care that you were," and I'm like, "No." To be truthful, that half marathon sticks out more in my mind than the ones where I've placed it in my age category.
Right.
That to me,
that's huge.
It was huge. It was,
and to show there's so many things. First of all, isn't it sad how people's words imprint on us, right? Like those words of, "Ooh, don't let Charmaine gain any more weight." And then we also have the power to say things like the person who was a runner that just said, "Charmaine, make yourself your number one priority," because I preach that all the time. The greatest version of ourselves is the best gift we can give the world. So now you have 2 sons,
yes,
and their mom makes her health number one priority. You're being a tremendous example to them, and also I'm sure you're a happier mom.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, that's a big. My daily exercise is what I do to cope with things.
Yes.
Some people, maybe choose a drink at the end of the day.
No,
that's not what I choose. I choose to get up every day at 5 a.m. and that's just when I let everything out. I do enjoy my coffee first.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, it's just such a great stress reliever, and it makes me feel amazing and confident. And again, I truly believe that conversation that I had with that chiropractor and the decision to make myself my number one priority is really, it's a snowball effect.
Yes.
Making myself number one just gave me confidence, and there's nothing wrong with having confidence. It's good to
wonderful.
be confident and
absolutely.
to wake up and want to conquer the day, and I've been
to feel good.
Yeah, and also just to live a life, as cheesy as this sounds, that I never really dreamed possible.
Like I love cheesy. I live for cheesy.
Blue cheese brie.
Yes.
I just just to even say that I get to work on television is it's a dream come true, and I don't think I would have done that. And it has really nothing to do with the fact that people often say, "Oh, it's because you've lost weight through running." And I did lose weight because I chose to exercise and fuel my body instead of dieting. But I just think it's I don't even care about how much I weigh anymore.
Right.
It's really just the confidence that physical fitness gives me every day.
Feeling good. Feeling good.
And you can't put no number on the scale will ever compete with that, right?
No. Yes, and I did read, and you said, and it's just so sad because I know so many people are stuck in the self-loathing because they're overweight. And you said you went from weighing yourself three times a day.
Yeah.
To 3 times a year,
if that.
And in that weighing yourself 3 times a day, you were probably always beating yourself up. Oh my gosh, look at how fat I am. And just that self-loathing, but you left that to just say, I just need to be fit to feel good.
That's it. I was chasing a number on the scale, and I thought that if I saw a certain number on the scale that I would be happy or my life would be perfect.
Yeah.
Even now, I mean, I'm human. Yes, do I get up every day and make exercise a priority? Yes, I do, but I mean, I'm still human. My kid, I have teenage boys, for crying out loud. My life is not perfect.
How old are your boys now?
Colgan will be 16 in January, and Tyler is 17.
I have a Tyler who's 24. Yes, I know. And twins who are teenagers, I know those years. Smile. But again, it doesn't matter what is going on in your life. You will be able to better cope if you make yourself your number one priority. And women are notorious for being so stressed and busy, and oh, she's so great, she gives everything to everyone else, and she never thinks of herself. We need to reframe that and say, no, that is not a good way to live.
Absolutely,
it's not a good way to live. So the priority promise. So what is the priority promise?
Yeah, so the priority promise is just my keynote, and you know, it's really just to inspire women to make theirself their number one priority and don't feel guilty about it. I truly think the most selfish thing you can do is not make yourself your number one priority. As you mentioned, women, we have to do everything. We want to be, and you know what? When I have caught myself trying to do everything, my kids and my husband are the first to call me out on it. They're like, Mom, you don't have to do all that. Like, look at you. You're making yourself crazy.
That's right.
And that's like a,
and you're no fun to be around.
No, exactly.
Yeah, at all.
So it's really just to inspire women. And how they choose to make themselves their number one priority is their decision.
That's right.
They don't have to run a marathon, or they don't have to go to the gym and lift 1 million weights.
What feeds your soul?
Exactly.
What makes you feel like my goal is to not a marathon, not a 5K.
Right.
I would like, and you know what? I will probably be the last person to cross that finish line, and I will do it with pride.
And absolutely, and who cares?
I'll do it with pride.
You know, when people come up to me, they're like, "Oh, well, I've only done a 5K or this." I'm like, "You're still lapping everybody on the couch." Exactly.
Yeah.
The fact is that you are doing it. So many people, whether women or not, they say they're going to do something. They say but just do it. Where you place, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's exactly. And that's another good point is compare yourself to your old self, to no one else, right? Like, I am not going to do you did an Ironman.
I did a half Ironman. For my 40th birthday.
My God.
Yeah.
So anyways, I can't compare to that. I can't compete with that, and I don't want to.
Right.
I want to do a 5K. But seriously, let's just give kudos where they deserve. A half Ironman.
A half Ironman.
So what is a half Ironman?
So a half Ironman is a 2-kilometer swim, a 90K bike, but actually this bike was 100 because there was a mix-up in the course.
Oh.
But a 90K.
Excellent. It was even longer, yes.
A 90K bike and then a half marathon run. So I did that for my 40th birthday. And I will tell you, there was definitely that's one of the top 3 things. And not because I did it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually getting choked up.
Yeah.
When my husband and kids were there to see me at the finish line for that was like literally a highlight of my life. And like I said, there is no number on the scale or a dress size that can compete with that. I am getting choked up.
I love when that happens. I love to make people cry.
That could have competed with that. And it was life-changing just having
them. To see them.
And I mean, they've always supported me. I don't want to just say it was this one time. Greg, I remember when I first started out running and our kids were young, like Colgan was a few months old and Tyler was a toddler. He'd push that double stroller to the beginning and end. I mean, the man ran more than I did, pushing the stroller from the beginning of the start line to the finish.
Yeah,
so
extraordinary.
They've always been a huge supporter of mine. So
that is so amazing. So, and of course, part of being physically fit, mentally fit, emotionally fit, you also want to inspire people to become the CEO of their own kitchen.
Right.
So tell us about that.
Well, and by doing that, I mean, I'm a firm believer in whatever works for you and your family in the kitchen works for you and your family. As we were talking about not comparing ourselves, just because so-and-so is posting on Instagram that their family eats, chicken breast every night with lots of mixed greens, and maybe you're eating a homemade macaroni, right? To me, the fact that you're all together and you're eating the homemade macaroni, that kind of trumps somebody choking down something healthy that they've made.
Right.
If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So just become the CEO of your kitchen. I mean, and also when you cook together, It's just a nice way to bond. It's a nice way to spend time together. Often, you know, you've got teenage kids as well. Sometimes that's the only time we're spending together is like preparing food or, so yeah, become a CEO of your kitchen. And it's pretty empowering.
Yes.
Even if you have to follow a recipe. But yeah, it's, and chances are if you're cooking for yourself, you're probably eating a little bit healthier than, you know, if you were going through a drive-through or so on.
Right. So for the busy people that do want to eat well, and I'm asking you these things selfishly because do you have like certain tips or anything that you say, you know, to do the best you can and to eat healthier? Because it is, when it isn't, it's like not having a green thumb.
Right.
In the kitchen, I don't have a green thumb, and if I didn't have a recipe to just follow, so I just kind of avoid, you know, and I do package this and that, and I don't want to. So 2019 is my year to change that. That includes you, Jordy, just so you know, my husband. But like, it doesn't have to be complicated, I guess. That's what I'm saying. Tell me it doesn't have to be complicated.
Well, I think as humans, especially as women and moms, we complicate everything, right?
Yes, we really
and we do catch ourselves comparing what little Johnny had in their lunch compared to what, you know, perhaps our own children have in our lunch. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do to eat health. I mean, you know, take advantage of pre-packaged, pre-washed, chopped vegetables, right?
Yeah.
If you do want to eat more veggies, but on a Wednesday night when your kids have basketball or you have to go here or there, instead of, you know, peeling carrots and chopping this or that, take advantage of those things and toss them into a pasta. And I'm not really a fan of the word like unhealthy food. I think there's food that is a lot more healthier than others, but you know, some people think that pasta is like the enemy.
Right.
Pasta is not the enemy.
No, it's
like,
it's not pounds of butter or cream
or it's the seconds and thirds of pasta, or the fact that maybe along with pasta for dinner, you're not getting your servings of fruits and vegetables in, or you're maybe choosing high sugary drinks instead of a ton of water.
Right.
Having pasta a few nights a week, especially because as a mom of teenage boys, we eat a ton of pasta. It's totally economical. But I'll also cut it with a ton of veg and lean proteins. But pasta is like a staple in our home.
Right.
So I don't.
So we do complicate it.
We do. I just think if we simplified everything, I think we'd be a lot happier and healthier for it.
Absolutely. And you do cooking lessons, though,
I do.
Yes. I'm letting you know. I so want to be there. You do it in Bracebridge.
I do. So I teach at the Creative Cook in beautiful downtown Bracebridge.
Yes.
I do a number of different classes. My most popular class is my Laugh, Lunch, and Learn. So it's a 1 hour
Lunch and Learn.
class on Friday afternoons from 12 until 1. So people can pop in instead of going through the drive-through on your lunch hour. You can pop into this class, very economical, and I always do a super, like a healthy lunch, and I always serve dessert because I think one of the healthiest things that you can do is not deprive yourself.
Yes.
You know, I deprived myself for years, and wouldn't you know,
it didn't work, did it?
I got bigger and bigger.
Right.
I was like,
that happens all the time. I know.
So now I encourage people, have a little bit of dessert. Don't deprive yourself, because it's always the ones that are on a diet that are always struggling with their weight. And I can only say that because I've lived it.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's starting at age 10, and that's just so sad, you know. And wouldn't it be wonderful to teach girls, boys of all ages who struggle with their weight, just make your own health a priority, right? It's the reframing.
And how you feel about yourself. You don't need to compare your body size or shape to anybody else's. It's your body size and shape for a reason. It's yours. And if you wake up and feel healthy in your own skin, that
don't worry about
what matters.
Sue or Johnny or anybody else look like. Wow. So I do want to go back to being the mom of a toddler and a 9-month-old to running. It was a marathon.
Yeah. So I ran a full marathon.
A full marathon. What are the steps you took, sort of in between there? Because I'm just curious to know. Because truly, that would be a great excuse. I have a toddler and a 9-month-old. My goodness. But you must have leaned into it in the beginning, or did you go full
No,
on?
when I remember my first run, I went out, I lasted 16 minutes, and that was mostly walking and huffing and puffing. So
that's an important point, 16 minutes.
Right, and I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, whether it's with anything. Any goal you want to reach in life, Rome wasn't built in a day. This didn't happen overnight. So a few days after I got home from the hospital after having Colden, I went out. So I'd say within a week after having him, I went out for my first run. Like I said, I lasted 16 minutes, but I knew if I didn't start then, I wasn't going to do it. Because I had always just made up, for the 20 years before that, excuse after excuse after excuse, deprivation, and I ended up at...
A terrible way to live.
Yeah, and I ended up at 220 pounds.
Right, so 16 minutes, right?
Right, so I think I ran 30 seconds and walked maybe 8 minutes, ran 10 seconds, and every day just a little bit more. And one of the reasons why I chose running was because I knew it had to fit with my schedule. At the time, we didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't afford a gym membership, and I knew that I wanted to get healthy. So I'd get up early before my husband left for work, and I'd get my run in at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then this way it was done. I had no excuses. All I had to spend money on was a really good quality pair of shoes.
Yes.
And
just get it done in the morning.
Yeah.
That's what
and just bit by bit, little by little, and then, you know, that 16 minutes turned into maybe 16 minutes of running a month later. And then it was half an hour. And then I entered a 5K. Then I entered a 10K. Then I did the half marathon in that fall, so it would have been the fall of 2003, the one that I was holding my boobs, and the full the Kenyans were running past me.
You're allowed to do that.
And then, wouldn't you know, May 2004, there I was. I did it. I ran every single step of that 26.2 miles.
My goodness.
And it was glorious. It was one of the best days of my life. Just to set a goal and accomplish it. Because in the years, you know, leading up to that, all I had done is set goals. I was going to lose weight. I was going to go on a diet. I got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And
it doesn't work.
And it was just so awesome to set a goal and accomplish it. And I did it.
Yeah.
And it was just so, I don't want to, well, it was a little bit like a drug. It was like, this is such a great feeling.
It's a great drug to be addicted to. I mean, it's better than many things.
Yeah, absolutely. And people, you know, then people started to hear my story and wanted to hear about it. And nothing brings me more joy than sharing my story.
It's a good story.
And people telling me that maybe I helped inspire them to run a 5K, or
I'm inspired.
Or even just take up a yoga class, or stop drinking pop, or whatever it was.
One healthy decision at a time. One healthy decision at a time. And the truth is, at the end of the day, you feel so much better.
You do. And I always say, you know what? Health is wealth, and it is contagious.
Yes.
Whether, you know, I'm telling you my story, and you're going to run that 5K or whatever. And it's nice to be around happy, healthy, energetic, enthusiastic people, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. No, that's really important. So it's just such a great story. And so you mentioned TV. Did you ever think you were going to be on television? And where are you on TV?
Well, so I am a trained chef, and I've been in the food industry for well over 20 years. And in the last maybe 4 years, I call myself a food media specialist. So I do spokesperson work for amazing brands, and I get to travel across the province and go on different morning shows and do cooking segments. And did I ever think I was going to be on TV? I always loved television. Loved it. But no, I just making myself my number one priority just gave me confidence to bang on doors, and once I got a taste of I just loved it.
Yeah, get you. Well, and the thing is, and we talked about this as well, and I was petrified to speak in public. So the fact that I'm a speaker and on TV as well. But what we both realized, it's not about being perfect, and that's what makes it okay, right? Like if we fumble or whatever, no one's looking for perfection. That's not a bar that we should hold for ourselves or for other people.
No. I think being imperfect is perfection.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we're all human. We all we all are imperfect in probably many areas of our life.
Absolutely.
I'm always very suspicious of, you know, perfectionists.
Yes. Well, that's another hard way to live, isn't it?
Very hard.
And I think that, again, when people are struggling with being overweight or being unhappy with themselves, I think that's one of the first steps. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else, and what is just really check in instead of outward.
Right. Oh, I like that.
Right? Yeah, I know. I'm glad this is on film. Check inward. Like, what would make me feel good about me right now? And truly, like for me and my 5K, which is now I'm putting that back on after this conversation. But I know I can't run a 5K right now.
Right.
I might be able to run half a block. But I'm going to do it a little bit at a time, and then I'm going to let you know when I get that 5K.
Cool.
Right?
Well, we can do it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to run with you, but it's like, hang on, Charmaine, wait for me. But it's just about leaning into it.
And just really just doing it. And not caring what other people think or where you place or what you do. Like, just make it about yourself and you, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And
it matters what you think.
Absolutely.
Right? And if other people are proud of you and supporting you, that's great, but it matters first what you think. So I am just so delighted. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And you should be proud of yourself.
You know what? I am. I really am proud of myself.
Yes. And it's a great journey. And you have a website where people can follow and get information more about your cooking show.
CharmaineBroughton.com. And all my social media handles are there as well.
Yes, and shows you've been on. Can people see clips of all that? Well, I'm going to be looking at that. And for inspiration, though, and I am going to come to one of your cooking classes. And how often do you have them?
About 3 times a month. Yeah.
Oh, 3 times a month.
Yeah,
oh,
on Fridays.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I just
laugh, lunch, and learn with yours truly.
Lunch and learn.
That's what it's about, right? Laughing, inspiring, and learning and eating.
And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be too serious. You can learn and go easy on yourself and lean into it. Getting the 1 minute.
Okay.
So, thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Didn't
for
that go by
me.
so quickly?
Oh, yes, it did.
I know. I know that we're going to stay in touch, and you'll see me jogging by.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
So thanks for joining us today. Real Life Talks is about learning how to just show up for yourself and just show up for others, and sometimes talking about things we don't talk about. So if you want to be empowered and you want to be resilient, you want to be able to just show up for yourself and others, my call to action as always is plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always, gotta get this, bring your own tambourine to the party. Thanks, bye for now.